You are being played. Right now, every single day, powerful people are secretly engineering your emotions. Your anger, your fear, the fights you see online. None of it is an accident, it's a game. And you are the pawn. What if I told you that you could see the strings? What if you could finally cut them? This isn't about being negative. This is about opening your eyes for the first time. We are living in an age of non-stop manufactured outrage. It's a 24/7 crisis machine. And it's all built to keep you emotionally overloaded. You're pushed and poked into picking a side on every single issue, no matter how insane. You're told that your feelings, your rage, your empathy, your fear, are the realest thing about you. But that is a complete lie, designed to trick you. This constant emotional chaos has a purpose, but it's not to help you. It makes you predictable. When you're emotional, you can't think straight. When you're fighting with everyone, you can't unite. And when you're predictable, emotional, and divided, you are so easy to control. The people behind the curtain, the media giants, the political bosses, the algorithms creating your reality, they don't want you to think. They want you to feel, because a person who only feels is a puppet. But a person who thinks, no matter what they feel, becomes a player. This is the invisible prison of the modern world. It has no bars, no walls, and no guards. The locks are your own emotional reactions. The chains are your own beliefs you never bothered to question. You're handed scripts for what to be angry about and told they are your own thoughts. You're shown enemies and told they are the reason for all your problems. The entire system works because of one simple glitch in our brains: emotional reasoning. It's the belief that whatever you feel must be true. If you feel scared, there must be a threat. If you feel angry, someone must have screwed you over. Your feelings become your facts. And in a world where facts are debatable, feelings are the ultimate weapon. But a weapon handed to you by your enemy is never meant for you to win. To escape, you first have to see how the prison is built. It has two giant pillars, splitting society into a million pieces and making your emotions your god. First, let's look at the strategy of division. This is an ancient trick, but it's been supercharged for our time. The fastest way to build an us is to create a them. Scientists have literally proven that even tiny, stupid differences can create instant loyalty for your team and hatred for the other side. This isn't a weird bug in our system, it's a lever of power. Politicians, advertisers, and the media get this. They don't just sell you a product, they sell you an identity. And that identity is all about who you hate. You're not just a person, you're on Team Blue or Team Red. Every news story, every post is designed to make that division deeper. The algorithms don't show you the truth. They show you whatever will make you angry and get a reaction. This turns every conversation into a battle where the goal isn't to understand but to destroy the other side. The more you fight, the more you click, the more you watch, the richer they get. You're a soldier in their war and your emotional energy is the prize they're harvesting. The second pillar is turning your own emotions against you. We're taught our feelings are sacred. But to a manipulator, your emotions are just a keyboard they can play any song they want on. Think about a toxic boss. They don't yell at you, they use emotional warfare. They spread rumors and sabotage people to create stress and fear, all so they can get a promotion. Now imagine that in all of society, it's the same game. News headlines are scientifically tested to find the words that trigger you the most. Stories are framed to make you furious. Huge, complex problems are turned into simple good versus evil cartoons. This creates a permanent crisis because fear and outrage are insane motivators. A scared population is easy to control. An angry population is easy to point at an enemy. A population that's both is too tired to see what's really happening. This is emotional reasoning on a massive scale. It's the idea that your emotional reaction is the evidence. You feel betrayed, so you must have been betrayed. You feel scared, so you must be in danger. This is a survival instinct from when we had to run from tigers, but now it's being hijacked. It stops you from looking for actual facts. We're being trained to abandon clear thinking for a reality built on lies, and the winner is whoever tells the most exciting one. So, how do you escape a prison you can't even see? How do you fight an enemy who uses your own brain against you? The answer isn't a new political party or a new tribe. The answer is to throw away everything you think you know and pick up a tool of pure, cold analysis. This is the Machiavellian mindset. Now, when you hear Machiavelli, you probably think of some evil villain who teaches people how to be cruel and sneaky. The word Machiavellian basically means being a ruthless jerk, but that's a total caricature. It's a meme-level understanding of a much bigger idea. Machiavelli's real genius wasn't in being evil, but in his insane commitment to seeing the world as it actually is, not how we want it to be. He was the ultimate realist. After he was exiled and lost everything, Machiavelli wrote **The Prince** not as a guide for evil kings but as a cold, hard breakdown of how power really works. He dared to look behind the curtain of morality and religion that leaders used to hide what they were actually doing. He wasn't a monster, he was just paying attention. And he saw that the winners weren't the most moral or the most liked people. The winners were the ones who understood the raw, unfiltered truth of human nature. Machiavelli's biggest idea was chasing the effectual truth. This was a huge deal. He ignored all the philosophers who dreamed up perfect worlds, calling them useless fantasies. For Machiavelli, the only thing that mattered was what an idea actually did. He didn't care what people said they'd do, or what they should do. He only cared about what they really do when they're scared or ambitious. This is the key that unlocks the invisible prison. The Machiavellian mindset isn't a guide to becoming a villain, it's a tool for seeing reality with brutal, shocking clarity. It's a shield against all the emotional manipulation. It teaches you to stop picking sides and start looking at the evidence. It demands that you care more about real-world results than tribal loyalty or gut feelings. To use this mindset, you have to become a detective in a world full of propaganda. You have to clearly define what you're trying to figure out and ignore all the noise. You have to collect evidence, question every source, and ask what they get out of it. And the most important part? You must be willing to change your mind when new facts come in, instead of clinging to a belief just because it feels good. This isn't a dark path, it's the most freeing thing you can do. It's the choice to stop being a passive consumer of stories and become an active analyst of reality. It's understanding that real power isn't controlling other people but controlling yourself, your reactions, your focus, and your mind. The Machiavellian mindset is your defense. It's how you see the truth they are desperate for you to miss. If you're tired of being a pawn in someone else's game and want to take back your own mind, smash that subscribe button and click the bell. This channel is all about breaking down the secret rules of power and psychology so you can win at the game of life. The first and most powerful principle of the Machiavellian mindset is this: evidence is everything and emotions are nothing. This sounds simple, but it is a radical act of rebellion in a world that gets rich off your feelings. Emotional reasoning screams, "I feel it, so it must be true." The Machiavellian mind says, "I feel it, now let's find the facts." This is the mindset of a detective, not a fanboy. A detective's goal isn't to prove what they already think. It's to find the truth, even if it's ugly. To do this, you need a system. It starts with one simple, insane trick: defining the question. When you see a crazy headline, the emotional brain freaks out. The detective brain pauses and asks, what is the real question here? What do I actually need to know? For example, a headline screams, "This new law will destroy the country." The emotional mind panics. The detective mind asks, what does the law actually say? What is the evidence from other places? Who gets rich or powerful if I believe this? By defining the question, you stop the emotional tidal wave from washing you away. You go from being a reactor to an analyst. Next is getting real evidence. A detective knows that rumors are worthless. They need DNA, records, hard proof. For you it might be data, official reports, or seeing what people do instead of what they say. You have to know the difference between good evidence and complete garbage. An anonymous comment online? Garbage. A peer-reviewed study? Higher quality. You have to constantly ask, is this source for real? Can I check this somewhere else? Or is this just someone else's feelings dressed up as facts? This is where understanding people is your secret weapon. Machiavelli knew people are driven by self-interest and lie all the time, so you have to check everything for a hidden agenda. A smart thinker asks why this evidence is being shown to them right now in this specific way. Finally, you have to be willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it crushes your favorite beliefs. This is the hardest part. If a politician promises one thing but their voting record shows the exact opposite, the voting record is the effectual truth. If a company claims it loves its employees but everyone is quitting, the empty desks are the effectual truth. By putting evidence before emotion, you're not becoming a robot. You still have feelings. You just refuse to let them drive the car. You see the anger or fear, and then you put it on the passenger seat while you do the real work of thinking. You are starving the manipulators of their number one weapon and taking back control. Once you're committed to evidence, the next level is mastering strategic emotional detachment. This isn't about becoming a cold, unfeeling robot, It's about understanding that your uncontrolled emotions are a weakness. They cloud your judgment and make you super predictable. A Machiavellian thinker uses emotions but is never, ever ruled by them. They keep their distance from the chaos to get a massive tactical advantage. Think of a surgeon in the ER. If they panicked every time things got crazy, they would fail. Their detachment isn't a lack of caring, it's a requirement to win. The same is true for you. To see things clearly and make smart moves, you have to create a gap between what happens and how you respond. One of the key traits of a Machiavellian personality is this emotional coolness, which lets them be calculating under extreme pressure. The dark side of this is using it to hurt people, but the heroic, defensive use is to protect your own mind from being hacked. When someone says something crazy to provoke you, your gut reaction is to get emotional. You feel anger or fear. That's what they want. It's a hook designed to pull you into a trap. Strategic detachment is the art of refusing the hook. It's the choice to watch your own emotional reaction without immediately acting on it. Imagine you read a comment online designed to make you rage. The reaction is instant. Your heart races. Your mind floods with angry comebacks. The strategically detached person sees this for what it is, a simple biological reaction. They observe the anger rising in them like a scientist watching a volcano. They think, interesting, that combination of words triggered a huge anger response in me. That simple act of observation creates a critical mental gap. In that gap, you are free to choose your response. Instead of lashing out and feeding the troll, which is literally what they want, you can ask, what is this person's goal? And what response gets me what I want, not what they want? A lot of the time, the best response is nothing. Silence isn't weakness, it's a power move. It denies the manipulator the reaction they need and saves your energy. This goes way beyond internet fights. At work, a coworker might use guilt or an emotional story to pressure you into a terrible decision. The emotional mind feels bad and gives in. The detached mind sees the tactic. It asks, if I ignore the emotional pressure, what is the most logical move for me? This lets you make decisions based on facts, not on being manipulated. Building this skill takes practice. Start by just paying attention to your emotions during the day. When you feel a strong emotion, just name it. This is anger. This is fear. This simple act separates you from the emotion. You stop being the emotion and become the observer of it. By mastering strategic detachment, you're not crushing your emotions, you're mastering them. You learn to use them as data. Why am I feeling this? What is this telling me? Instead of as commands. You become less reactive and more strategic. You stop being a puppet and become the person who can see the entire stage and choose their own moves. In a world designed to mess with your head, detachment is your armor. The third principle is to become a master at taking apart the stories they feed you. In the modern world, power isn't about guns and armies, it's about who tells the best story. The person who frames the story controls reality. A Machiavellian thinker is never a passive watcher. They are a critic, constantly ripping narratives apart. Machiavelli knew that what things look like often matters more than what they are. Leaders have to seem good, even when they're not. This is the ultimate performance. Today, that performance is happening 24/7. Every news report, every ad, every political speech is carefully built. To deconstruct these narratives, you have to accept that there is no such thing as a 100% unbiased source. Your job isn't to find a perfect source. Your job is to find the bias in every source. Start by asking one simple question. Cui bono? It's Latin for, who benefits? Who gets rich or powerful if I believe this story? This one question cuts through all the noise. Does a giant corporation benefit from a story that calls deregulation economic freedom? Does a political party benefit from a story that paints their opponents as a threat to the nation? Does a media company that makes money from clicks benefit from making a story as insane and divisive as possible? Yes. Once you know who benefits, you can see how the narrative is built. Look for these cheap tricks. Emotional words. Is the story full of loaded words trying to make you feel something instead of think? Missing information. What are they not telling you? A story's real power is often in what it leaves out. The fake choice. Is the issue presented as a simple black and white choice? The expert trap. Is the story leaning on a so-called expert without showing you any real evidence? Taking stories apart like this is a mental workout. It's like learning to see the Matrix. The philosopher Nietzsche, who was a huge Machiavelli fan, said people don't want the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. You trade the comfort of lies for the power of clarity. The fourth pillar of the Machiavellian mindset is a brutally honest view of how people work. Machiavelli's ideas were based on his observation that people are not the perfect rational creatures we pretend to be. He saw that people are driven by a predictable and powerful set of motivations: self-interest, fear, ambition, and the desperate need for security. In The Prince, he famously asks if it's better for a leader to be loved or feared. He said it's best to be both, but if you have to choose, it is much safer to be feared than loved. Love, he said, is a bond that people will break the second it's in their best interest to do so, but fear is held by a dread of punishment that never, ever fails. To adopt a Machiavellian mindset is to accept this uncomfortable truth as a practical instruction manual for the world. It's recognizing that people are moved more by what helps them than by what is right. When you see the world this way, you stop being shocked by betrayal or hypocrisy. You expect it. In negotiations, instead of begging someone to be fair, you appeal to their self-interest. In leadership, you understand that loyalty is temporary. People are loyal as long as you're useful to them. In spotting lies, because you know people are masters of disguise, you learn to watch their actions, not their words. This pragmatic view also forces you to look at yourself in the same harsh way. You have to admit your own weaknesses, because if you don't find them, someone else will find them and use them against you. By admitting that you can also be driven by fear or ego, you can start to guard against it. A realistic view of human nature is the ultimate shield. Manipulators win by exploiting the gap between who we want to be and who we really are. You move through the world with fewer illusions, and because of that, with fewer weaknesses. The final principle is mastering adaptability in a world that is totally unpredictable. Machiavelli saw the world as a battle between two forces, virtue and fortuna. Machiavelli famously compared fortune to a raging river that floods and destroys everything. You can't stop the flood, but a person with virtue can build dams and channels to prepare for it. A rigid person with only one strategy will get wiped out when luck changes. True mastery isn't having the perfect plan, it's being able to adapt. It's knowing when to be aggressive like a lion to scare away threats and when to be clever like a fox to spot the traps. The person who clings to old ways because we've always done it this way is basically asking to lose. Methods are just tools. If a tool stops working, you throw it out and find a better one. You have to be willing to throw away those theories when new evidence proves them wrong. Constant learning. You have to keep learning and observing so your knowledge is never out of date. Practice being flexible. Challenge your own routines on purpose. Think in scenarios. Instead of one plan, think in multiple futures. This dance with fortune is the ultimate expression of the Machiavellian mindset. You stop being a victim of chaos and become a surfer using the energy of the waves. We started this journey talking about an invisible prison, a world built to keep you emotional, divided, and predictable. But a prison, once you see it, isn't a prison anymore. It's just a set of walls. We've gone through the 5 principles. First, evidence over emotion. Second, strategic detachment. These aren't rules for controlling other people. They are the rules for mastering yourself. They want you emotional. Be analytical. They want you divided. Be objective. They want you predictable. Be adaptable. You can see the machine, the masks people wear, and the hidden truths they try to hide. The choice right now is yours. Will you keep being ruled by the feelings they create for you? What is one story or narrative you've recently taken apart using these ideas? I want to read about it, so share your experience in the comments below. Your comment could be the one that helps someone else finally see the truth. And if this video opened your eyes, share it with one person who needs to see this. Until next time, stay sharp and stay clear.